Does it say that maybe there is something wrong when millions of children in this country are dealing with hunger and with other basic human needs? No, not a word in this bill addresses that. Mr. President, in my state of Vermont and around this country, families are paying on average about $15,000 a year for childcare, if they are lucky enough to find a slot.
Of $3.29. There's no major hurricane in the Gulf Coast or more refinery outages. However, analysts also warn the decline could slow temporarily and even turn higher in some areas like California and the Midwest. Prices were already rising recently in those areas as well. The least expensive states for gas are in the South. Drivers are paying an average of $3.26 for a gallon of gas in Texas and Arkansas, and some states continue to see much higher prices like California, where the average is $5.26 a gallon, and Nevada at $4.84. The U.S. exported nearly 10 million barrels of oil and refined products last week, according to U.S. Energy Information Administration. Exports of gas totaled 1 million barrels a day for the week. Joe Biden's new Inflation Act is now offering up to $14,000 in additional financial assistance to many low-income families. There are over 70 Democratic lawmakers that are urging Congress to step up to the plate and pass legislation that would actually prevent a government shutdown. Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act on climate change is helping many Americans reduce their carbon footprint. A key element in that push is offering up to $14,000 in rebates and tax credits for people to make their homes more energy efficient. Those benefits can be used to lower the cost of home upgrades, ranging from installing heat pumps to buying new electric purchases and like stoves and dryers. About 40% of carbon emissions stems from buildings, and so these incentives can actually help the U.S. achieve its goal of lowering fossil fuel emissions. According to experts, this gives people some very concrete and generous incentives to do that, both in the form of tax credits and direct cash rebates. CBS News has said that it is the biggest federal investment in buildings ever, at least one that is specified for climate change. There are two separate rebate programs. The Homes Rebate Program provides more than $4 billion in states to help residents make their entire home more energy efficient, and the program provides rebate based on the energy savings they upgrade their home in. And now, for instance, homeowners that make changes that cut their energy usage by at least 35% can get up to $4,000 in rebates. That amount is doubled for low and middle income households who can get $8,000 in rebates. High Efficiency Electric Home Rebate Act provides rebate for low and middle income families to electrify their home, like installing heat pumps or electric clothes dryers. The per household rebate is capped at $14,000, and households cannot receive two rebates for the same upgrade. The Homes Rebate Program would cover upgrades from solar panels to new windows that help your home become more energy efficient. The other program designates rebates for specific appliances and purchases and other upgrades. One of the consumers and one of the most appealing rebates is a provision that is offering up to $8,000 for heat pumps, and this provides air and conditioning as heating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in March, the SEC proposed a climate risk disclosure rule that takes a big step toward increasing the efficiency of the economy and of financial markets by requiring companies to inform investors about the climate-related risks that affect their businesses. Now, as part of this rule, the SEC proposes that companies disclose their greenhouse gas emissions, and a company's emissions are classified into three different categories called scopes. So, Chair Gensler, just so we can set a baseline here, let's run through an example. Let's say I'm Exxon. My Scope 1 emissions would be from things like my company's vehicles and methane leaks that occur at the wellhead of the wells that I own. Scope 2.
And important, the law reduces inflation and it reduces the deficit. And as the chairman's leader said, it is fully paid for by making the biggest companies and the wealthiest pay their fair share.
So the only option once existing funds are exhausted would be a nearly 25% cut for all recipients on Social Security. It's not a win for anybody. It's unlikely Washington will let it get to that point, but Social Security is popular and economically crucial for most Americans. But few in positions of power are trying to actually come up with a fix to actually prevent it from happening. About 2 years ago, this bill already was created. He said, the Senator Bill Cassidy said, it occurred to me that we could address this by creating an investment fund. it would prevent a 24% decrease in benefits. Now, some independent senators like Angus King are already caucusing with Democrats to begin their pitch on this big idea to save Social Security. The pitch goes to prevent and invest $500 billion over 5 years in one of the independent investment funds separate from Social Security. Now, the government actually have to borrow money to pay for scheduled benefits, and the fund will be managed independently for Congress, with the intention of preventing future political interference. Now, Cassidy concedes his plan only partially solves the solvency program. It does not address the tougher questions about raising taxes or the retirement age, but he said at a minimum, it would not raise taxes on seniors or affect anyone close to retirement. Cassidy and his staff have been working with lawmakers to get feedback and make changes as they go. There was a short window where Cassidy thought Biden might engage on Social Security after the midterms, but so far Joe Biden hasn't done anything to announce his plan to help Social Security beneficiaries. But back in April, more than 66 million people took home a benefit check from Social Security. Now, 50 million of which were retired workers. Among these retirees, close to 90% rely on a monthly payout to cover some portion of their monthly expenses. Whether you're already retired or have just earned the workforce, surveys consistently show that most Americans will lean on their Social Security payout in some capacity during the golden years. In other words, maximizing what you'll receive from the Social Security program is important. All told, more than half a dozen elements can impact what you bring home monthly or to keep from the benefit checks. As an example, Social Security benefits became taxable above certain income thresholds. Additionally, a dozen states tax and Social Security payouts to some varying degree. But so far, when whittled down to the basics, 4 components are ultimately responsible for determining Social Security. It's your work history and, of course, your retirement age. Folks, we got 10 news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SDI. Now, there's a ton of information that you guys definitely want to know about this. Continue watching. We have a lot of information about this.
Per month. This is, it's never happened before. And look, history's been made here. But it comes alongside the largest drop in unemployment rate in a single year on record.
The Senate in history of the United States has been amazingly and extraordinarily productive. 20 months into the Democratic majority, I just want to take a moment to highlight the many, many accomplishments we have secured in this chamber under Democratic leadership. It's the most in recent memory. The American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, the CHIPS and Science Act, the Gun Safety Bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, an omnibus package, and many other bills in between. Senate Democrats have worked hard every step of the way to improve the lives